You may recognize this footage from the last bowl that I turned. Now it's time to turn the second piece. Simple but effective. I really like this jig. This obviously is way off balance. As you can see, it sticks up on this side quite a bit further than over here. Now, I will show you just how this lathe wants to dance at 250 RPM. And if I increase it to 500, it calms it down significantly, but there's still a lot of shake. So this would be very hard to turn, to say the least. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it back to the lathe, put it on that jig, which will slide along my fence. And the fence is aluminum, so the magnets won't stick to it. And I will cut it off about here. Should balance it out quite a bit better. So let's take it over to the bandsaw again and cut that off. Well, it turns out that my aluminum fence came over on the table too far. So I've just got a piece of plywood held with a couple of quick grip clamps here. And that should work just fine. Now, one of the things about putting something round like this through the bandsaw is that it can be dangerous. It can slip out of your hands and spin and cause severe problems. So I have got hot glue right there to hold this against this board. I've also got it on the opposite side, and I have some holding the faceplate in this area right here. The only way to find out how well this is going to work is to use it. So I'm going to put it through the bandsaw now. I have to hold it up here and against this fence with this left hand. So I'll put on my hearing protection and let's get this cutting. Well, I'm pleased with how that worked. So now I'll take the hot glue off and let's see what it does over at the lathe. All right, now I'm able to turn this at 750 RPM with no problem. Very, very little vibration in there. So that's a big improvement. Now, if I wasn't as lazy as I am, well, if I wasn't as lazy as I am, I wouldn't be me, because I am lazy. And I proved it again by being too lazy to change the blade on my bandsaw. And because I didn't put the 3/4 inch blade on, it was only a 3/8 of an inch blade, I've got a real dish in here. It did not cut straight. Now that's not a real big deal, it's going to be turned away, but I just thought I'd point that out. Now I'm going to be turning this at 750 RPM using my 1/2 inch bowl gouge. I sometimes wonder why I even try with the larger gouges. I get such better cuts with my 3/8. Yep, much better. Got a little bit of tear out right here and some here. Need to try to do a really fine cut. Get rid of that. So I just re-honed the gouge. Let's see what this will do. Boy, that is not taking it away. I'm going to have to try doing a little bit of shear scraping here, I think. I'm just going to make a mark top of my tool rest, right where that is, so I make sure I find it again. Well, I am having no luck getting rid of this tear out. It's on the end grain, of course, where it's most likely to show up. So I'm going to try spraying it with H2O, also known as water, and see if that will toughen it up a little bit. Sometimes this can do it. We'll see what happens today. And I've increased the speed to 1000 RPM. I had a lot of trouble, and it took me a long time to get rid of this tear out. If you'd rather not watch me struggle with it, just progress to the time code shown on the screen. And it's still there. Going to try again. if this doesn't work, I'm going to have to go to CA glue and let that toughen it up. Nope, the same thing in the same place. All right, time to bring out the big guns. All right, I've got the CA glue. Going to apply it to that area, and I'm wearing a nitrile glove because I have a habit of getting CA glue all over my hand that's holding the bottle. All right. Now I'm going to spray that with Starbond Accelerator. I just want to speed this up a little bit. All right, let's try this again. Well, I'm getting pretty nice shavings off of there. Now let's just find that spot. There is still some there, but I think it's just because it was deeper than I was turning. Feels stiff, so there's probably CA glue in there. But I'm going to put a little more in there, and then I'll be right back and we'll try it again. I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but this is Starbond Super Fast Thin Glue. I want to make sure that it's penetrating as much as possible into the wood. And I'll give it a shot of the Starbond Accelerator again. And I'll be able to start turning that in just a few seconds. Well, this is just strange. All right, time to try some shear cutting. Well, I believe that's got it. Seems to have gone. All right, now to put a tenon on the bottom. As you can see, that is a lot of very fine shavings that were taken off of here. But you have to remember, it's not just taking it from one spot, it's taking it all the way down and all the way around. So you do end up with an awful lot of shavings. I'm going to be using a 3-inch tenon, so I have my divider set to 1 inch and 1/2. I also lifted the tool rest up so that I have to lift the far end of the dividers up high. If I had it the other way and had the tool rest low, then I'm looking at a good catch with this leg. So I'll be setting this leg on the center and then scribing with this end. Turning that down to 500, it's a little fast. All right, that should be perfect. Now I think it's time to sand everything. I'm going to be sanding this with this turning in reverse and my drill with this 2-inch pad turning forward. I'll be sanding on the upper quadrant here. I don't want to be catching the bottom of the disc on the bowl. I'm going to be sanding at 500 RPM. And down here I'll be sanding with just strips of sandpaper. Sanding from 80 to 400 grit. I'll give you a quick look at this and then come back after it's finished. So I'll get my air shield on to protect my lungs and get started with this. All right, this is sanded to 400, feels just beautiful. And right here is where that torn grain was, and it is totally gone now. That was a lot of trouble. Now, off camera, I decided I wanted to have this a little more gentle sweep in here. So I took a 1/4-inch bowl gouge, and unfortunately, I had it slip on the tool rest and come into here and chip out some of the tenon. Now luckily I was able to take a square tool, get this back to where it belongs, and that's not going to cause a problem. The chuck still fits on there just fine. Next step, I'm going to put denatured alcohol on here with a cloth to clean off any dust. And I'm going to have to turn this in reverse for anything I do out here because I've got quite a split. And this split is not going toward the center, it's actually going in that direction, which means when it comes around this way, it will catch. I can feel that quite obviously. This direction, no problem at all. So I'm going to be turning this in reverse at 250 RPM and putting denatured alcohol on a cloth to clean that dust off. You can see the brown of the dust there, so it's obviously working. All right, I'll let all this dry, and then I'm going to come in here with Zinsser seal coat for the sanding sealer. The sanding sealer I'm going to use is Zinsser seal coat. I'm going to be turning this in reverse again at 100 RPM. All right, I'm going to let that dry. I'll put a second coat on, and then we'll be ready for the finish. Now for the finish, I'm going to be using Minwax Wipe-On Poly. And in case I haven't mentioned it before, I really like these stop-loss bags. I find that if I leave the Wipe-On Poly in particular in the tin can it comes in, it tends to get all around the opening and cause quite a mess. So this works very well for me. Now I'm going to be applying this at 100 RPM in reverse. All right, I'm going to let that spin there for a while, and then I'll take it and put it in a more dust-free room, which is almost any room in my house. And I'm going to put on 3 coats at least, and then I'll be back. Well, I'm very pleased with the luster on this finish, but it's just a little bit rough. So I will be using Axe abrasive paste and polishing restoring pastes to bring this to its final finish. That's much better, much smoother. Now I will go with the polish restoring paste. All right, I used the polish restoring paste off camera. Okay, I confess I forgot to start the recording, but anyway, I'm real pleased with how this came out. And now it's time to reverse this into the 4-jaw chuck and turn the inside. All right, I'm ready to start turning this. I want to true up a little bit of the front face. It's obviously very rough. I'm going to be turning this at 750 RPM with my 3/8 inch bowl gouge. And I have the tail stock brought up with the live center for support. Wow, this is extremely hard wood. Time to sharpen. The tail stock is starting to get in the way now, so I have just pulled the live center back enough that it's still there in case this comes loose in the 4-jaw chuck, but it's not actually touching. So I'll do a little bit of turning here just to make sure that it's going to stay there. Then I can pull this whole system out of the way. The 3/8 inch bowl gouge was just reaching too far across here. I was getting a lot of vibration. So I'm going to change to this 1/2 inch bowl gouge, see what kind of difference that will make. Alright, I'm going to use the Easy Wood finisher with a negative rake cutter on it. I'll give you a short look at this and I'll be back after I finish doing this. Alright, to sand this, I've got a 2-inch pad for my sandpaper on my drill. I'll be able to go in here and sand this, but when I get around here, it bounces too much. So, I was forced to go out and buy a new tool. So I have this right angle drill now, which, because I can grip it up here, is going to be much easier to control. So I'm going to get my air shield on to protect my lungs. I'll give you a short demonstration on how this is going to be sanded. Then I'm going to finish it the same way I did the outside, and I'll be back when I have finished that. That is looking good and feels real good, trust me. All right, time to reverse this into the coal jaws so I can take off that tenon. All right, I've got it in the coal jaws now, and this wood is quite a ways from actually being dry. So it has moved quite a bit. You can see there the center point I had marked earlier, and now you'll see that it has moved a lot. And when I turn it up to 500 RPM, there's quite a bit of shake there. First thing I'm going to do is just straighten out this so that it is actually round, running true. And I'm going to use another of Cindy Drozda's signature tools. This one is called the Straight Side Flat Bottom Box Tools. And you can guess what it's really meant for, but I think it'll work just fine for this. So I will get my face shield on and start truing this up. Alright, that should be true enough that I can come in here now with my 3/8 inch bowl gouge. I'll keep it at 500 RPM, see how this works. All right, time for some sanding. I will do this off camera. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I know I certainly enjoyed turning it. Green ash is very hard and can be difficult to work with. But hey, I'd rather work on something difficult than not do any turning at all. So I want to thank you for stopping in today, and I hope you'll come back next time. Between now and then, have a great day in your shop and be safe. If you did like this, click the like button so I know I'm doing something right. Leave a comment if there's something you want to say about this, or maybe you have a request, something you want me to turn, something you want to take a look at. Share it with others, that would certainly help my channel a lot. And subscribe if you haven't done that before. Again, a big thank you to my subscribers. I really appreciate you stopping in and subscribing. So, take care of yourself, and I hope I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.